Are you ready, Sheila? Good evening. I'd like to call this regularly scheduled Chandler Town Council meeting to order with a roll call, please.
Cheryl, Tom,
Here.
Sarah,
Here. Here.
Ron,
Here.
Okay. All right, do y'all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. In front of us tonight, we have the March 21st meeting minutes. Any questions, concerns, changes? I didn't find it, but I'm not the Nazi of Bellington. Okay, all right, then I'd like to entertain motions to accept the meeting minutes from April the 21st as presented, please.
So moved.
second. Tom,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Tanya,
Yes,
Ron,
Yes.
thank you.
meeting minutes will pass. Okay, in comments and consensus on the agenda, we have Tim Mosby, and this is regarding the flooding and water issues and concerns with Speedway development.
Excuse my appearance, but you'll understand in a minute. As she said, my name is Tim Mosley. I've been a resident North State Street since 1980, retired farmer. And for the record, my last name is spelled B-E-Y, not E-B-Y.
I didn't.
But I'm not here to dispute anything Mr. Moore said. In fact, whenever I was county commissioner, he was probably, his firm is one of the best engineering firms in our area. And so I'm not here. The borough pits, the retention ponds, he's totally correct. They will do their job to control runoff and all that. My main concern as a resident of this area, and I own the farm directly across the road from Endereen Road to the east, and the lower end of my farm is in the flood plain, floodway, floodplain, remember all that? I've watched the meeting, but it is in the floodplain part, just a small part of it. And years ago when Les Drive and Green Valley Drive, you know, that was before the laws, I guess, governed who could build what where. But I have seen water, and I know the guy that owned the very last house on Les Drive. It has had water in the crawl space. It never got up into the floor, but it was in the crawl space. Many years ago, I've seen water. We've had a lot of high water. Now, he referred to, you know, the Pigeon Creek watershed and the Ohio River watershed. What we deal with is the Pigeon Creek watershed. When the Ohio River's up, I mean, like my father back in the 37 flood, Stevenson Station area, and we've all seen the water on each side of Highway 62 driving to Evansville. There was no water out there. The Ohio River didn't back up that far. We deal with the Pigeon Creek watershed. As county commissioner, we fought and tried to get the Pigeon Creek cleaned out. Pigeon Creek starts on the south end of Princeton. And I farmed down on Stevenson Station Road, Creek Bottoms. We've had a beautiful stand of corn, not got a drop of rain here, and they would get 3 inches of rain on the south side of Princeton, and the next day, the corn would be underwater. The creek can't handle that kind of amount of rainfall. We've tried to get it cleaned out. That's a whole nother story. Vanderburgh County they don't cooperate because it's not a legal drain in Vanderburgh County. So we have a real problem with Pigeon Creek. Unfortunately, the racetrack and my property, everything drains to Pigeon Creek. So my concern, just like we had about 3 or 4 weeks ago, you've all seen the flooding we had, the corn stalks. I know Michael Bell called me. the corn stalks, which came out of my field, they floated up into the intersection of Les Drive and into Reed Road. And the county come and cleaned theirs off, the city, that's part of it. But the unfortunate thing is we cannot handle that kind of flooding, that kind of rainfall presently the way we are. And Mr. Morley, the retention ponds, they're gonna dig burrow pits, they will turn them into retention ponds, they'll handle all the runoff. You get a 7 or 8 inch rainfall like we had in that week's time, those retention ponds are gonna be full. They're not going to be able to drain out into the ditches that leads to the creek because the ditches and creeks are gonna be full. The retention pond will stay full. Then when the backwater starts backing up, the retention pond is not going to help us whatsoever. If you stop and think about it, the pit's full, already full of water. So that water, it has to go somewhere. And unfortunately, I didn't know, but I brought a little demonstration. I'm a farmer, not an engineer. But this is the landmass we're talking about. You can all see the level of water right there. If we do this raceway development, this is the raceway development. I just grabbed a can of WD-40. You put that in that water, look at your water level. That's what's going to happen, folks. You're going to flood Les Drive, you're going to flood my farm. It's going to get worse. Jim and I talked on the, he called me today. He knew I was concerned. And, and we agreed as gentlemen, he's got his engineering thoughts. I have my common sense thoughts. This is common sense. When you fill in an area that is always flooded, that water is going to disperse. It's going to have to go somewhere else. The somewhere else, you're going to be flooding part of your town, plus my farm, plus the farm next to the north of me, all the property north of us. That's all in a floodway. We are in a floodplain. He's not restricting the flow, but when you have backwater, the water's not flowing in the floodway. The water's not going anywhere. It just keeps moving and spreading out. So I just want you to think about, what you're doing. Unfortunately, if you annex it, the way I understand the rules, then they're not required to go to the area plan, the county area plan commission with their site plan and all that. I have talked to the Warwick County surveyor. He couldn't believe that we're thinking about doing this. And I want to see Chandler Grove as much as all of it. I'm not, it's just the wrong place to do it, unfortunately. And I appreciate all the interest in the development, but it's going to affect not only me, but your town. And all the homes, if you stop, I don't know how many of you have lived here very long, but Indereen Road, all as you're going from the racetrack to the highway to Hine Road, all those houses on the right, that water backs up into the back end of their properties. Now, how much higher it will come up into their properties, I can't say, but it's going to affect them too. So it's not only Les Drive. There's a lot of areas that's going to be affected. So I just wanted to say get it off my chest to let you know how I feel and hope you listen and think about what you're doing, because that's not a good thing if you stop to think about it. Thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
Okay. Then we'll move to the town attorney.
Thank you, Tanya. Somewhat similar theme, although I'll note different. We have 2 items for your attention tonight. The first is the last meeting we talked about, and I brought a copy of the fiscal plan for this voluntary annexation. I think there was sort of a tacit approval, but we brought an actual resolution here. I'll pass that down. Oh, never mind. Chandler's ahead of it. I think all you guys met, by the way. This is my colleague Chandler Lacey. He was literally born for helping out this town. His parents had it in mind. And I say that because I, unfortunately, after we chat about this, I'm going to have to step out today. So Chandler's here to help out with that. But so first is the resolution adopting the fiscal plan, and that was prepared by our financial advisor, Baker Tilly. This is required for any annexation to talk about the current assessed value, what's going to happen, et cetera. And you can see on what they labeled, page 11, the net fiscal impact. You go from 2025 paying 2026, the net assessed value is 0 because it's not town limits, and the next year it jumps up to 11.7 million, then 23.6 million, et cetera. And some of that's contingent on what all's developed, but that obviously is additional tax revenue to the town. Mr. Mosby referenced if you guys allow this, obviously you're not voting on this particular development plan, and frankly, from a zoning perspective and what they're going to do, a lot of that, most of that can happen regardless. The real question for you tonight is whether you want that development and that tax base to be within town limits or not. And likewise, to the extent you guys want to have a say in terms of the development plan, this is an annex, you don't have a say in that. If it is, you do. So that's something else. It wouldn't go to the county area planning commission, it would go to the town area planning commission, which does have a planning commission. I probably, to the extent you guys want to have a larger discussion about this and have some additional comments, I see Mr. Mosby left. I guess he really did just want to say his piece and leave. I know we've got Morley and the developer here, but it might make sense to have some of the additional discussion on the actual ordinance itself, because this fiscal plan is, I don't want to say it's a formality, but it's sort of a formality. So, thank you for passing that out, by the way. So I'll say also the heading here, Town of Chandler Resolution Number 2025-4, a resolution adopting a written fiscal plan and establishing a definite policy for the annexation of the Speedway property development into the town of Chandler, Indiana. And then again, assuming you adopt the fiscal plan, the next item would be the actual ordinance which relates to the annexation.
Okay, any thoughts, concerns on the fiscal plan? Any questions?
This document here is just, Jeff Johnson, if I may, this is just a little further, this is the more explanation.
It's actually the same.
It's the same thing.
Exactly the same.
Yeah, it's just there's a resolution attached to the front of it. And you guys could do that just by a voice vote, but we lawyers sometimes like to have things in writing where we can just
Okay, so
say, yes, this was adopted.
okay, the only thing different between these two is
There's an actual resolution of the front of it. Yeah, they're the same otherwise.
It's in bigger print on this one.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah. And I will say, I misspoke. It is actually not resolution number 2025-4. It is 2025-1.
One, but it goes with ordinance 2025-4.
Right.
And if there's no questions, then I'll entertain motions to accept Town of Chandler Resolution Number 2025-1. A resolution adopting a written fiscal plan and establishing a definite policy for the annexation of the Speedway property development to the Town of Chandler.
I'll make that motion.
I'd like to read through it a little bit more myself.
This is the fiscal plan.
This is the fiscal plan, yeah, so this is the fiscal plan, but
I'll second that.
which, just for clarification, fiscal plan is just an example. It's not written in stone, it's not necessarily completely what's gonna happen, it's anticipated.
Right, this is sort of the prediction of Baker Tilly says of what they think this will what kind of additional tax revenues this will bring in. It's an
That's
estimate.
basically, it's just an estimate of
And
cost versus tax revenue.
yeah. And the only costs, well, yeah, I mean, the main costs here obviously are police and fire, although as I understand it, the police department, I mean, you have more houses, but the police department effectively
Would respond pretty much.
pretty responds outside of town limits already, and same with fire, so I don't, yeah, there's not a big impact there, it's mostly revenue.
Yep.
Okay. Tom,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Tanya,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes,
thank you.
And I don't know if somebody wants to sign one and pass it down. So the next real item for discussion here would be the ordinance number 2025-04. We had this first reading last time, and this would bring in the area formally into the town limits. We've got the legal description, and then Exhibit B has an actual drawing. You'll see there's two different parcels. One is thinner that abuts to Heim, and then of course the other is the larger Speedway property. So obviously we had Morley come and speak last time. We've got another representative of Morley here tonight. I guess if there are any questions.
I do.
If you want to go ahead and call that, so.
Oh.
Yeah, he's here, he's here, yeah. If you got questions.
I've got a question exactly the same. First of all, it's kind of a moot point, I guess, because I have been thinking of what Mr. Nolan said ever since the flood happened, 3 or 4 weeks ago. I guess what I would like to be clear on, and I want to say this by an example. And that's the thing that you all didn't address in the last meeting, was what I call water displacement. And that was the thing that Mr. Mosby showed to us, was water displacement. The flood like we had before, the detention pond, creek, they're all gonna be full, whatever. So what we're concerned about is the surface of the water, where that's gonna be. So what I would like to see, I don't really know how to put this except.
Are you talking
my old
on-site?
country,
Are you
my
talking
old
on our
country
site?
way of thinking. If we're gonna put, I'll give you a chance in a minute, Zane, but let me try to get my thoughts out. We're gonna put 30 acres, raise 30 acres up 2 foot out of the floodplain to build on. I'm just throwing out that number, I don't know what that is. Okay, 2 foot. Let's say if that 30 acres had water on it 3 weeks ago. Okay, so you've got, let's say it had 6 inches of water on it, just for argument. So you're raising that 30 acres up 2 feet. Okay, then where's that 6 inches of water that was covering up that 30 acres? Where's it going? And I think Mr. Moses was saying that it's going to spread out into West Drive, Green Valley Drive, his farm fields, and maybe other places. That's what I'm concerned about. Okay, is it going to, let's say the outline of where the water was during this flood event, if we raise all that land up with the 2 foot, how far is that going to raise? I call it like the beach or where the water, the edge of the water. How far is that going to move the edge of the water? Sure. Is that going to move it 10 feet, 20 feet, a quarter mile?
So-
Are we going to run the risk of maybe a couple of houses on West Drive flooding?
Sure, so
That's what I'm concerned.
understood. So what's being proposed, and I'm sure this conversation had, I wasn't at the last meeting, so just kind of to circle back. So what we're proposing is filling in the floodplain. And so the definition earlier, there was distinction between the floodway and the floodplain, right? And so we're not proposing any work in the floodway with the exception of digging a borrow pit, which the floodway is defined as the area it takes to pass the water through. And so what we're doing in the floodway itself would be, the only work we're doing is digging a borrow pit, which would actually make that area bigger. Now in the floodplain, where we're proposing to fill, we are allowed to fill in the floodplain for a development like this. In fact, if you think back to the east side of Evansville, the east side of Evansville 20 or 30 years ago, where it was all farm fields, it's all area that's been filled for development like this in floodplains. And so what we're proposing to do is to fill, like you said, several feet in the floodplain. The fill that we're proposing to do, which would be allowed, the total area of the watershed where this, where the Pigeon Creek backwater, where the extents that it touches, the amount of fill that we're proposing will be negligible, and negligible impacts on the backwater elevation and extent.
So it won't have, it shouldn't have any impact on it.
That's correct.
Optimal word, should. What kind of guarantees do we have for that?
We're, by definition, we're allowed to fill in the floodplain, but not allowed to fill in the floodway without seeking additional permitting.
But what I'm saying is, when we're at the peak of that flooding event, we're talking about the surface of the water.
Sure.
So the surface of the water, the floodplain, and the floodway is the same. If I'm thinking right.
I understand what you're saying.
See
Yes.
what I mean?
Yes.
I'm not worried about the bottom
Sure.
of the
Sure.
creek or the bottom of,
I understand.
I'm worried about the surface of
Right.
the water. And if that surface is gonna get into other crawl space and other homes
Right.
on less drive.
And so the
That's
fill,
what I'm concerned.
the fill with this, with what's being proposed would have negligible impact.
You're saying it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen anyway.
Correct.
I mean, if you figure the amount of area, like 10 square miles, and you take what we have out, it comes to about 1/100%. That much.
And so the example that was shown earlier, where the can was put into, I mean, the can was over half or 2/3 of the size of that, Tupperware container.
So would a toothpick have been more appropriate? probably?
Where,
Yes.
yeah, if you drop the needle in there,
Yes.
it's not gonna make a big difference. I mean, you're talking about a large valley in there, and we're taking out this much of it. And we're only filling this much, where his cornfield is probably this much deeper. So if you actually do that calculations, and you take 5 square miles, and you take our 65 acres, it comes out to be about 1/100%.
Okay.
I actually did that calculation today when I was told that that's what he was gonna talk about.
So what you dig in the burrows, what's the difference between that and what you fill on the floodplain?
We're gonna take some of that in there. We're gonna dig out the burrow pit
Right, but.
to get some more dirt,
So
but it's only gonna, what he was talking about the other day is it's only gonna go down so far. So we've got a series of lines going through there. So if I took this and I drilled right here, it's gonna empty to here. So what Mr. Bosby was talking about it being full all the time, it's always gonna be empty down to this point. And they did their calculations from here up. So this is like you're draining your sink. So it's, I mean, what he was saying, your sink's always gonna be full, but your sink has a drain right here, so I'm not gonna stab it, but this is where it's gonna go down to. So they did their calculations on the retention from here up. Does that make sense?
So the water needed to disperse this area and the amount of space needed to disperse that area is what is from there up. From down below, you
That's
took
just-
the
They
dirt
can-
out,
They can go
now you
fishing.
made a pretty lake,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. That's where
Very
the
similar to
self-expensive
like,
comes.
exactly what you said, like on the east side, because after that was said, I had looked at some of them, and you can see for several of those rows up
Yep.
during the flooding time that we had a few weeks ago, I mean, you can see there was still some debris around some of, not all, because some people cleaned some of that stuff up, but some of you could still see there was some, a little bit of debris up there from, not corn stalks and stuff, but, just watermarking,
Yeah.
watermarking.
If you go out on
type stuff.
Intereden Road and you stand there and you look out all over that thing,
That's
it's
all
bad.
wet.
And that's all, they can get a topographical map and they can show all the gradients on there. But you're talking a vast area where if I dropped this in here, it would make much difference than when you drop the can into those others. So it's, what you're looking at is not even that much difference.
And I'm not concerned about, and Tim, forgive me for saying this, and he'll probably read, I'm not concerned about the farm fields.
I
That doesn't
understand.
concern me, because even, farmers, they're gonna have crop insurance.
Yeah.
If a bush come a flood, and flood out their crops, they all carry them anyway.
That's why you buy insurance.
That's why, but I'm more concerned about people with houses.
Agreed.
Les Valley, Les Drive, Green Valley
Yeah.
Drive, other places. In my neighborhood, we get back up.
Yeah.
We have a house in my neighborhood that's flooded.
Again,
And I'm concerned about that.
if you take the overall picture, it's minute. And plus, we got 65 acres that's gonna take away all the water that was gonna be on our site, away from that. So it's at least a wash.
That's the engineering, that's
No,
the
This
engineer's
is the
report.
old boy farmer trick in here that,
I keep thinking like, you're gonna hold so much water back that
Yeah.
I can't see that it's gonna make the other worse. Because that water was already fighting each other to begin with. But the water that you're taking off your acres there, you're gonna hold back and release at a slower
Well-
level, which is what we've done on some of the other.
we're not gonna increase it, but
You're not
on
gonna-
the overall picture,
Right.
even if
I
the
just
star's
think-
in, it's, like I say, if you go out there and you look and you see miles, and if you do the actual calculations,
Okay.
it's,
First of all, I want to see development in Champlin. You don't know how bad I want to see it. I do. And if holding up the development would affect farm fields, then I would have I say, no, I'm not gonna do that. But thinking about people with homes, that still concerns me.
again, I agree.
That still
So,
concerns me.
I mean, I can show you the numbers. They come out to 0.0000125.
I don't think this last event, we had any homes. If I'm correct.
Yeah.
I don't think we had any homes affected at all.
Yeah.
And that was great. How much percentage change you say?
0.00125. And if you do 5,280 times 10 squared, divide 65 acres by that, it comes out to 0.00125. Put that engineering degree for a change. But yeah, on our site, it's always gonna be from here up this drainage, so it's never gonna be full. It's never gonna be empty, but it's gonna be,
You don't think during this event like we just had, the old borrow pits are gonna be full?
oh, I'm sure they'll be full.
Yeah, I think they will.
Maybe running over the edge, but they've also got a little bit of max on that. But he's also an engineer, so anytime you do an engineering, they throw a fudge factor in there like you would not believe. So like Jim said last time, they over-engineered it. So he had to get to this number, and he went to this number. So, and that was based on 100-year floods. So you didn't quite have a 100-year flood, I think you were close. But if they go over the top, because they do have some drainage, I mean, they're gonna be what, 10%? I think that's what he told me. So you may have a little bit run over the top, but they've also got the homes up from there on our side. But again, on the other side, yeah, ours is not a big drop in the bucket. It's a small one.
Yeah, so to reiterate, on a project like this where we're filling, whenever we dig a borrow pit, generally we're digging a borrow pit that's bigger than our drainage needs. And so we would have additional capacity in our basins to store water above what we require by code. And so in this instance, we'd be in the same boat where we would have additional storage capacity for our water that's generated from this site, in order to hold it back even more than what we require by code. And then of course, release it at a rate, at a lower rate than what it does now. So,
But that's on our side.
correct.
That's, but again, I got all day tomorrow if you want to go out and take a look at that, and we can. But it's a huge area that he's talking about.
Any other questions?
It's just sort of confusing though, because, whenever you live here forever and you do go down there and Reed Road under those circumstances, I think it's always flooding bad. But I understand what you're saying, that what you're gonna do isn't gonna put an impact on that.
It's still going to flood really bad, but the difference that we're going to make in it
Not,
is
not
minute.
affordable. Not noticeable.
no.
Any-
I mean, if you draw a line in the sand, it may touch the line, or erase the line, but it's not going to go past it. Under beach theory.
Oh, yeah. The edge of the water.
Exactly.
So, if there's no other questions, then entertain motions to accept the town of Chandler ordinance number 2025-04, an ordinance of the town of Chandler, of the town council of the town of Chandler annexing the territory to the town of Chandler, placing the same within the corporate boundaries and making them the same part of the town of Chandler, known as the Speedway Super Voluntary Annexation. Wow.
3
I
times
hope you
fast.
got bread today.
Hey, Tom, can I
Yes.
just say one thing? I just, listening to this conversation tonight, it reminds me that you guys are asking questions. And you're seeking, answers, and you're in control. And by annexing, you remain in control. If you fail to annex, these questions will be addressed at the county, and we will not have this voice that we have tonight to talk to government what happens in our town.
That's definitely a concern.
Right, so,
So what you're voting on tonight is not the SWIP plan or the site plan. You're voting on who's going to control this property.
then, like I said, entertain motions to accept the 2025-04 ordinance.
I'll make that motion.
I will second.
Tom,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Tanya,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Okay. We're gonna let Josh, he has an appointment that he needs to
Thank you all.
do.
Appreciate it.
And this is was the second reading as well.
Yes.
Okay, so there's one for Ron, there's one down here.
Chandler, I'm gonna move this down to you, and the other,
Delegates.
yeah, the resolution back to, is the resolution been sent back down?
I guess that's just.
Sign the-
Okay, they're still working on it, okay.
That's it.
Wait, on me.
Sure.
I just wanna make sure it gets back down there.
Sure.
Okay, then Chandler, do you have anything else for us?
That is all I have.
Okay, all right, then we'll move down to, the, department reports. First up is police. And I believe Kurt had something there at the end. Okay, so the officers have been asking, and I know there's been complaints about this for a long time. And maybe Chandler, you're gonna have to help answer this too. Putting an age restriction at the town park. I noticed even last week there was someone had a complaint about kids not being nice without adults, teenage kids, that sort of stuff. So they're asking that kids need to be 15 years old, or if they're 15 years old or younger, that they have a parent with them when they're at the park. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Because I know that you guys have had lots of calls at the park.
That's correct.
Okay, any thoughts or concerns on that? Thoughts about it? And Chandler, what's your thoughts on that? It's the town park, and the kids, they're a little rowdy, I guess, at some points in time, as kids will be.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I'm not sure on this. I'm more than happy to look into it.
I think that's the way we need to, we're gonna, check with council to see if it's even something that's possible and then evaluate type that situation. I know, I've had people, older people walking who have even said that it's kids at some points in time are just, and with summer coming on, we can look into this and see what we can do to try to make it a little bit better.
With that park we got down there, I think it's a shame that they can't get along and
I know,
everybody play together, but I definitely understand on what you're talking about. It's a shame they just can't.
I mean, I always go back to what I was always doing until my kids, if it's not yours, don't touch it, if it's not your business, leave it alone. But if they're not doing that, then, you know, you hate to see 1 or 2 or 5 or 10 ruin it for all. But it might have to be that we'll have to tighten some things down, or maybe we look at saying, if certain kids, if it's the same kids over and over again, it's saying those kids cannot attend the park. That's another option there, Chandler, that maybe we should look to think about is if it's the same kids over and over, that the cops are being called on, that they're only allowed to be there, no matter what the age of an adult.
We already have a list of juveniles that aren't allowed at the park.
Okay.
It is, and the general consensus, I don't speak for Kurt. He didn't tell me to say any of this. I work second shift, it's my only shift, 2 to 10. The general consensus that I hear from their parents is they don't want their children going to the park because of the kids that are there.
Yeah, and see, that's the other thing, you're correct, there's a lot of kids that are not allowed to go to the park because of some kids misbehaving.
Correct.
So that's why, we really should look.
I will look at that this week. I'll report back on the job.
Okay. All right, that would be great. All right, and I think that's the only thing he had, for us. I know he's got Halo looking at some numbers and stuff like that, and we'll go from there on that. All right, then if there's something else, please, we'll move to the fire department.
I sent you guys a pretty long-winded email about possibly buying a new pickup truck. Maybe any questions about that, or we'll give your blessings and go forward with it.
I got a question about it. So if you've already got a Ford F-350 that, let's say for the brush fires, it's, we'll say worthless, or, you can't use it because it's too heavy, what would be the advantage of getting a new one? Wouldn't it be the same thing?
So the 350 is a crew cab dually, and that's why it's too big. The truck that we're looking at is single rear wheel, single cab. We have problems getting that truck into places. The single cab 8-foot bed, we have another one, the 1986 is single cab 8-foot bed, and much better than the crew cab dually.
But the crew cab is just too long to maneuver through where you need to maneuver
Yep,
through.
too long, too wide.
Yeah, it takes a football field to turn it around.
Yeah, and the diesel engine is significantly heavier. The new truck that we're looking at buying is a gas engine.
So you're saying that it's not as wide, at the bed area is not as wide.
Correct.
And then it's not as heavy, so you're going into softer ground, it's not as difficult,
And it's not as long.
not as long, okay. And it is saying that this is staying within your yearly budget.
Correct.
Be good. So, entertain motions to allow the fire department to move forward with purchasing, which I will say this real quick. Brush fires are a big thing. We have a lot of brush fires that come out of our fire department. So, so this would have 2 vehicles, correct? Okay. Then, entertain motions to allow the fire department to move forward in purchasing the new pickup truck to replace the, older dually.
We're, just so everything's right, we're not replacing the older truck. We're adding 2, but the old truck belongs to Ohio Township. It doesn't belong to the town.
And when you acquire that truck, according to that email?
Not the truck, the equipment.
The equipment that's on the truck that is used for
If they get,
brush.
they
I
get
thought
the
it said
license
that
to move the
they would
equipment.
do those with the truck as well. Maybe I read it wrong.
He did say that was a long-winded email.
Yeah. But I did see where they would want to remove the equipment off of it, which would save a lot of money. And then it said something like,
Oh, yeah, here it is. He asked to keep, they had asked to keep the 2002 F-350 as a utility vehicle that would serve multiple purposes. And this was, okay by Oakland Township to go ahead and keep.
yeah, that he was supportive of that.
Yeah,
So you would still keep that truck as well?
yeah, but the township will keep ownership of it and still pull the big, ATV trailer that's owned by the township as well. Just repurposing that truck basically.
And giving you a second truck for brush fires.
Correct.
Okay. Now that makes more sense. Okay, then entertain motions to allow the fire department to move forward with the purchase of the new, pickup truck from, for the brush fires.
I'll make that motion.
Tom,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Tanya,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
thank you.
Other than that, we're battling Center Point to get our electric turned on at the new station. I got an email today. Did you get an email? I did not, but I made some phone calls. That might have been when I got an email. Well, I started making phone calls last Friday, and it sounds like they're on track to move to not move away from engineering to actually putting on the agenda. Awesome. That's what I received today. From what I got told Thursday was it's still in engineering and it'll be there for like 2 more months. No, I missed it. You didn't like. Yeah, Mr. Hartley helped us on that today. I'll call him. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, and how is the fire department, the new fire department going?
It's coming together nicely. Waiting on Center Point. They're holding up everything, all the outside work is dependent on Center Point right now.
Yeah, for that nice little hole right in the middle.
Yep, the inside is pretty close to being done. There's still some fixtures to be hung and small things to be installed. The majority of the inside is complete.
And if you guys haven't been to see it,
I've been through.
you should, I mean, it's nice.
We did have, some issues with some tile and a couple things they put in that was awful. And they took it out and replaced it. It was much better now. Just for the record, Center Point was notified on 2/27. A work order was put in, but I like to energize, but investment.
They work on their own time, as we all do.
They actually got an application last July. July 11th of 2024. 'Cause I remember I did one, and then we did another one in February. They got one last July.
All right, then if you don't have anything else, then we're gonna move down to, Director of Public Services.
Got pay application number 5 for Telephone Road for $243,622.80. We're down to the punch list. The job, they pretty much got everything cleaned up, seed straw, and waiting on basically us to create a punch list for them, which the engineers are working on right now.
Okay, any questions or concerns about this? Then I'm gonna entertain motions to, accept pay application number 5. This is, $243,622.80 with a retention of, $27,069.20.
So moved.
Second.
Tom,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Tanya,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
thank you.
The only small thing I have is park related.
Uh-huh.
My guys just finished, we had a major leak we had to fix at the community center, down at the concession stands. The bathrooms are done. they're usable now. I know we talked about opening them up. I just want to let you know they are ready to open up.
Okay.
If you guys make that call.
I know last year we talked about opening it up because of the folks who are using the disc golf, because there is no bathroom down there. Otherwise, we've opened it up similar to what we do in the park, so the bathrooms over here, for people to use in the park. Any thoughts or concerns about doing that?
Well, hopefully, they won't tear them up like they do at Park.
There's never any promises on that sort of stuff.
No, I understand.
But if you guys are okay with it, then we could open those back up and then, because I think the officers close them up. When do you close them up?
Second shift, 9 o'clock.
At what?
9 o'clock.
9 o'clock. Well, I mean, you guys could, we can get with Kirk and add that at the same time, just another little thing to do.
Just want to let you know that
Okay.
they're ready to be opened up.
I think they have a facility.
I have a question of, we have, the fixtures in all of our restrooms and parks. Do they still all China fixtures, breakable
Yes,
fixtures?
yes.
We talked one time about looking into stainless steel fixtures.
Yeah, they're all,
Don't break,
they're still porcelain.
yeah, portion. I think that wouldn't be a bad idea to look into. I'm sure there's regular park fixtures designed for park application that would be, well, nothing's indestructible, but maybe it would be a little bit more.
I will tell you, the female restroom, all the toilets themselves, they're pretty, and they're in bad shape. And it's just because they didn't get used last year, so they started, the water set and really didn't undone. There's a lot of hardness on it, and it's just, they don't look good.
Okay.
So
Maybe
it might be
that's
something to think
I
about.
mean, because they make stainless steel toilets, right?
I'm thinking about fixtures like they have in prisons. They're indestructible.
I understand. what
I
you're-
mean, you know what I'm saying?
But, no, but I know a lot of the parks, like, a
Something that-
lot of the parks that do have those, they have, stainless steel type.
Right.
I had forgot about that sort of thing, so maybe that is something we do need to look at.
We talked about it one time, but we never moved forward.
That's all I have.
Yeah, that'd be good for the parks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, and Misty did not have anything for us today, from the utility administrator side. Environmental manager,
I just want to say that Matt and I will be going to the IDA annual meeting next Monday and Tuesday. And once again, Chandler is going to be awarded for his conservation efforts with regards to the wetlands in the nature park. And you're welcome to come to any
what day is it?
Tuesday. Tuesday lunch. Awards night.
I'll talk to you later. Okay. Maybe, maybe not. So we'll see. Okay, clerk treasurer?
I don't really have anything special to report right now.
Okay. All right, then on the Parks and Recreation, I was contacted and I think Misty sent it to me. The bike park. The bike park at the community center. I was contacted by, and I told Brad I would bring it, Brad Scales, those that started the bike park and everything, was talking about phase 3. And he did send a quote, and I apologize, I meant to get it to council. That did not happen, so I am sending that to you guys right now. But it's for the phase 3, which I'm a little unsure what phase 3 is exactly, but it's for the, it's the design, the corridor clearing of it, flow trails, and I'm not sure what starting a hub is, and stuff like, and then mulch jumps, I'm not sure what those are. So anyway, I have sent you guys that for you guys to look at. I obviously don't intend to make any decisions on it tonight, but if you guys don't mind looking at it before next meeting, and we can have any questions about it. If you have any questions, ask Brad as well on those things. So just some thoughts and things on there. And also to report that the Little Tots T-ball thing is up and going, and they have a lot of little kids signed up for this. And they're doing, I think, June, July, and I think August. So, I mean, it'll be exciting to see the little kids going, and they are working on, and they have scheduled some of them, not all of them, they will have food trucks when they are there as well, with the ball games. So then we'll be posting that. So if anybody would want to go to any of that as well, from the town can go to those as well during that time. So, but yeah. So, I know they've signed their contract and they've turned in their funds and they've got their insurance, and they actually use our insurance company the whole work, so they're heading in the right direction.
Question on the bike park phase 3. How often, does anybody even know how often the bike park's being used? And by how many people? Because I drive through there quite a bit. I don't ever see anybody playing disc golf. I don't ever see anybody on bike trails.
Now,
You know.
I see these two gold guys playing disc golf almost every single day. I mean, every single time I go. I don't want to say every single day, but I think they play almost every single day, I've been told. I mean, do you see, I mean, you guys see people playing disc golf, and
I do.
Okay.
how about the bike trails?
Weather, same,
Same?
depends on the weather, but yeah, I can say that they use disc golf pretty regularly.
So you think it is being utilized quite a bit?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually gotta go. Sorry.
No worries. So, but yeah.
That's good. I mean, that's what it's.
I go sometimes during the day at lunchtime, and that's when, I mean, I see some older fellas out there playing disc golf quite often,
Okay, well, great.
so. Which is good. Okay, any new business? Okay, any old business? Oh, on the old business part, I know that Misty sent that we were awarded the $35,000 grant from Centerpoint for lighting.
Didn't see that.
I know that her and Tyler worked very hard on that. I want to acknowledge that work that they've done on that for one thing. And I know that they're working to fulfill that grant as well, but, that's a significant amount of lighting. You know. So I want to say thank you to both of you for working on that. That was, and I know that Misty talked about applying for more from them as well for things.
I
So,
said it was on the list.
yes. So, okay, then we're gonna move down to the presentation of claims, $826,028.75. Any thoughts, questions, or concerns? And if not, I'd like to entertain motions to accept claims as presented.
Make that motion.
Second?
Tom,
Yes.
Sarah,
Yes.
Tanya,
Yes,
Ron,
Yes.
thank you.
claims will pass as presented. And unless anyone has anything else, I'd like to accept motion to recess.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, have a nice evening.
Yeah, I was like, surprised you were screaming into the mic. And I'm like, normally I would just talk to you, ask a question, but I was like, I haven't. Yeah, fine, so nothing's going on, guys. Why not?
I will get that research to drop. Yes. That would be great.
Hey, no, Jared,
We need to stop that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard.
So I was like, oh, just sign that.
Oh, that'd be a whole lot.
Okay.
Yeah, let's speak.
I mean, I think that's basically, I mean, that's the, and that's, there's a lot more to